Back in 2016, Lionsgate released an adventure fantasy movie, Gods of Egypt, a movie with a setting that takes place in ancient Egypt, with portrayals of gods and goddesses of Egyptian mythology and their relationships with mortals, featuring the complex systems of devotion for the living and of the afterlife. Here is a bit of a summary of the movie. It starts with the grand coronation of Horus, the god of the sky, as he was meant to inherit the throne of Egypt from his father, Osiris, son of Ra, the sun god. At the beginning of the ceremony, gods, goddesses, and the people of Egypt offer their gifts to the supposedly newly crowned king of Egypt. Then Set, god of chaos and of the desert, arrived. He is the uncle of Horus, brother of Osiris. He, at first, gave Horus a hunting horn, supposedly his gift to his nephew, which ended up being a trap. Set then proceeds to murder Osiris, then defeats Horus, also gouging his eyes. After being blinded, Horus was then banished as he lost his power, and Egypt succumbs to Set's tyrannical rule. Here enters two humans that would change the current problematic turn of events. Bek and Zaya are a couple from the poorer class of Egypt. Zaya is a devotee of Horus, while Bek does not believe in the gods. Ever since Set sat on the throne, both of them became enslaved to the system. Bek was a worker who was also a thief, and Zaya served as secretary of one of Set's men. With this, they were able to come up with a plan to retrieve Horus' eyes to restore not just his power, but order in Egypt. They did this, and unfortunately, Zaya was killed and had a terrible journey in the afterlife, for a poor girl does not have any gold or of similar value to offer. Bek made it his motivation to bring Zaya back, so he didn't back down in seeking Horus. Horus and Bek made quite a tandem, and Bek was already starting to have faith in the gods. They were also able to team up with other deities against Set's rule and had a couple of good and bad encounters along the way. Then it was revealed that Horus manipulated Bek into doing his bidding, because in reality, he cannot bring Zaya back to life. This disappointed Bek, but they reconciled, defeated Set, and restored order in Egypt. Bek dies for a bit, and Horus brings both him and Zaya back to life through the grant of Ra. From being a poor, thieving non-believer, Bek became Horus' advisor, with Zaya by his side. The movie ended with Horus reclaiming his right to the throne, realizing the importance of mortals, giving Zaya and Bek a tranquil life, overall restoring peace all over Egypt. Going back to talking about systems, and to reiterate, Gods of Egypt is a movie based on Egyptian mythology, which has been established ever since in ancient Egypt. Characters like Osiris, Ra, Horus, Set, and other gods and goddesses mentioned actually existed in mythology itself. The movie was a portrayal of what people of ancient Egypt might have been like and their dynamics with their deities. For this video, we would mainly focus on the dynamics present in the movie, as well as the structures created from it. As we can see, the people relied on their gods and goddesses, what they can provide for them, or what these deities can impose on them to do. These gods and goddesses have their own tasks, whether it is to rule, to guide, to provide, or to solve the problems of their constituents. Their constituents, on the other hand, would serve them in return. It was some kind of mutualistic connection, with the presence of a hierarchy in place. To elaborate, their world could be divided into two: the mortals, who are the humans, and the immortals, which are the deities. The mortals serve the immortals, and the immortals rule and govern. It is also the immortals who get to decide the fates of their constituents in the afterlife. They also get to decide on what happens with the living. For example, during the reign of Osiris, the Egyptians seemed to be prosperous and free, but under Set's tyranny, all of them were enslaved and forced to worship him. As for the dead, even kings get to decide on how one is qualified to cross the afterlife. While Set reigned, it was through riches that the dead will be measured, but when Horus took his rightful place, this system of weighing gold shifted to weighing the good you have done while you were living. It is the gods, or specifically the king, who gets to decide on these matters. Mortals also have roles of their own. The highest kind was the nobility. The nobles directly serve for the ruling gods. An example of this would be Bek serving as an advisor for Horus. Then there are the common people, the workers. Based on the movie, some of them belong to the educated class and the others to the lower class. Zaya is notably shown to be part of the educated class, as she served as a scribe for an architect under Set's rule. Bek, on the other hand, was part of the lower class. The lowest of all these classes are the slaves, who did extreme physical labor, which was mostly shown during Set's rule. The king does have rule all over the land, but he still abides by the will of the sun god Ra, Set and Osiris father and Horus grandfather. They are and were the kings, but they are all supposed to follow Ra. To consolidate these dynamics, the movie portrays a social hierarchical system with authority and power coming from Ra, down to the king, then to the other deities, to the nobility, to the common people, and then to the slaves. It can also be seen that this system is flexible and an individual can climb the social ladder or fall from it. An example of this would be Beck and Zaya's statuses at the end of the movie. Gods of Egypt encapsulates several customs and cultural elements of ancient Egypt. It featured multiple aspects of ancient Egyptian life, from their worship of deities to the presence of the social hierarchy. As we have previously mentioned, the ancient Egyptians had a deep devotion to their gods, believing that they could govern their daily way of life. Showcases the storyline wherein human devotees were able to recognize the gods' power and earnestly believed in them, even providing rituals and offerings. Moreover, the social structure of the society was seemingly portrayed through the various classes exhibited within the film, whether it be humans and the gods and goddesses, or merely the social structure within the mortal society. Ultimately, the film serves as a visual representation of the rich history of ancient Egyptian life, wherein the dynamics between the people and the divine were dramatized and shown significance, upholding the affluent history they hold.